I watch my sister May hand her passport to the immigration officer. Her knuckles are white where she grips the worn blue cover. She won't look at me, not even a glance. We're standing in the exact same cramped, sterile room as before. The air smells faintly of industrial cleaner and desperation, a combination that churns my stomach just like it did the first time, right before everything ended. It's uncanny how precisely history seems determined to repeat itself. The officer nods curtly, takes May's documents, and gestures her towards a small side office. "We'll speak with you separately," he says, his voice flat, devoid of expression, just like before. May pauses at the door. She turns finally and gives me a small, tight smile. It's the exact same nervous curve of the lips she offered me moments before she threw me to the wolves in our previous life. "It'll be fine, Ling," she whispers, though her eyes betray her fear. Then she disappears into the office. Silence hangs heavy in the room. I can hear the muffled murmur of voices from behind the closed door. My fingers brush against the smooth, cool surface of the hidden voice recorder tucked securely in my inner pocket. My heart beats a steady, rhythmic tattoo against my ribs. Not panic this time, but anticipation. Minutes crawl by. The door opens. The officer steps out, holding a single sheet of paper. He's the same man. Older, perhaps a few more gray hairs at his temples, but the same skeptical eyes, the same downturned mouth. He approaches me, May's written statement in his hand. He doesn't waste time with pleasantries. "Your sister," he states, tapping the paper, "claims she doesn't know you. Says she's traveling alone." There it is. The lie that sealed my fate last time. This time, it's the first domino I intend to push. I didn't simply remember the betrayal. I relived it the moment I gasped awake 3 years ago, drenched in sweat, tangled in the childish floral bedsheets of my teenage room. One moment I was fading, the cold concrete floor of this very detention center leaching the last warmth from my body. The officer's indifferent words echoing in the hollow space where my family's support should have been. The next, I was 13 again, the phantom chill of death clinging to me like a shroud. The memory hit me with the force of a physical blow. May, questioned by the officers, panicking under pressure. Her wide, frightened eyes finding mine across the room before she shook her head, uttering the fatal words. I don't know her. Just like that, to save her own skin, she cut the ties that bound us. My sister and my parents? When contacted, they'd backed her up. Feigned ignorance. Too terrified of jeopardizing their own precarious immigration status, the one they'd meticulously curated, to risk claiming a daughter suddenly deemed problematic. They chose May, the promising one, the easier one. They chose themselves. I died alone, forgotten, a loose end neatly snipped away. But then, this. A second chance. A baffling, impossible return to a point years before the fatal border crossing. I didn't know how or why. Maybe it was the sheer burning intensity of my final thoughts, the rage, the injustice. Maybe it was something else entirely. It didn't matter. What mattered was the opportunity laid bare before me. 3 years. 3 years to meticulously plan, to gather resources, to steel myself. 3 years to prepare for this exact moment, standing in this same room, facing the same lie. My purpose crystallized with cold, sharp clarity. They would not forget me this time. They would face what they did, every single one of them. The officer gestures me towards the chair opposite his desk. I sit, placing my bag beside me. He picks up my passport, flicks through the pages, his eyes lingering on the visa stamp. The same suspicious squint I remember so vividly. "Ling Chen," he reads, then looks up, studying my face. "Purpose of your visit?" "Tourism, initially," I reply, my voice even, calm. "I'm also exploring educational opportunities, perhaps settling long-term if things work out." My composure seems to unsettle him. He expected tears, pleas, the frantic confusion I displayed last time when my world fell apart without warning. He expected the terrified girl whose fabricated story crumbled under the slightest pressure. He's not getting her. He asks about my travel plans, my funds, my ties back home. I answer each question readily, providing documents I painstakingly acquired over the last 3 years. Bank statements showing substantial independent savings, letters of preliminary acceptance from universities, contact information for distant relatives legally residing here, relatives my parents conveniently never mentioned. These are things the desperate, unprepared Ling of the past didn't have. You seem very well prepared, he observes, a note of grudging respect creeping into his voice. I believe in being thorough, I say lightly, especially when navigating complex immigration procedures. I even consulted with a highly recommended immigration lawyer back home, a Mr. Jang, though his advice was interesting. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Casually, I mentioned a conference I plan on attending, dropping the name of a keynote speaker, a prominent local politician I've managed to connect with indirectly through careful networking since my rebirth. Just a subtle hint that I might have connections, that I might not be the anonymous, easily disposable traveler he initially assumed. His brow furrows. He glances back at May's statement, then at my documents, then at me. The pieces aren't fitting the narrative he's been given. The suspicion in his eyes is morphing into confusion, maybe even a flicker of doubt directed not at me, but at the story he was told just minutes ago. He picks up his desk phone. Bring the sister back in, he says curtly. There are some discrepancies we need to clarify. The hidden recorder in my pocket continues its silent work, capturing every word. Phase 1 is proceeding exactly as planned. The door opens and May steps back into the room, escorted by another officer. Her eyes immediately find mine, and the nervous relief she must have felt just moments ago evaporates. Her face drains of color. Seeing me sitting here, calm and collected, clearly not detained or distraught, throws her completely off balance. This isn't how it was supposed to go. Miss Chen, the primary officer addresses May, his tone sharper now. Could you please repeat your earlier statement regarding your relationship with this individual? He gestures towards me. May glances frantically between the officer and me. Her carefully constructed composure is shattering. I, she stammers, her eyes darting around the room as if seeking an escape route. I offer her a small, quiet smile. Slowly, deliberately, I reach into my bag and pull out a small stack of photographs. Childhood pictures. Us grinning gap-toothed at a birthday party. Us awkward teenagers on a family trip. Us just last year celebrating the spring festival posed side by side. I fan them out slightly on the desk. The officer picks one up, glances at it, then looks hard at May, then at me. Confusion is plain on his face. You said you didn't know her? May opens her mouth, then closes it. Her eyes well up with tears, real ones this time, born of panic, not performance. It's complicated, she finally whispers, her voice trembling. Her lie, so simple and effective last time, is disintegrating before her eyes. She knows instantly that I planned this, that I knew. Just then, my phone buzzes softly on the desk. A text message. I glance down. It's from Gia, my supposed best friend. Parents are waiting outside, getting anxious. Any news? Perfect timing. They're all waiting, expecting May to emerge victorious, leaving me behind. The immigration officer leans forward, his gaze fixed on me. The photos lie between us, tangible proof of May's lie. His voice is low, demanding. Miss Chen, he says directly to me, ignoring May's distress. Why would your own sister deny knowing you? Why would she lie? Because they planned for it. Not just May, but all of them. 2 weeks earlier. The scent of ginger and soy sauce fills our small apartment dining room. Steam rises from bowls of rice. A typical family dinner, chopsticks clicking against porcelain. Except I wasn't supposed to be home. I'd told them I was studying late at the library, but doubled back, letting myself in silently, tucking myself away in the shadowed alcove near the kitchen. The crossing is the main hurdle, Father says, swirling the tea in his cup. His brow is furrowed with worry, but not for me. May's visa is solid. Her university acceptance is confirmed. We need to ensure nothing jeopardizes that. Mother nods, her expression pragmatic, almost cold. Exactly. Mei is the priority. Her future is set here. If there are complications, she pauses, choosing her words carefully. If questioning gets difficult, we focus on getting May through customs. Ling, well, Ling is younger. We can always try again for Ling later, maybe next year. My breath catches in my throat. Try again later? They knew the risks. They knew detention was a possibility, deportation even more likely with flawed papers or inconsistencies. Later might mean never. I watch May. She hesitates, picks at a stray grain of rice on the table. Does she remember the last time? Does she feel even a flicker of guilt? But then she looks up, meets Mother's insistent gaze, and gives a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. Agreement expendable again. Focus on May, Father repeats, finality in his tone. Ling will understand. Family makes sacrifices. The burn of betrayal, sharper and more bitter this time because I know it's coming, spreads through my chest. They haven't changed. Given the same choice, they make the same calculation. Me, the collateral damage for May's bright future. My phone, tucked safely in the alcove, silently records every word. Another piece of evidence, carefully collected, filed away digitally alongside so many others accumulated over these past 3 years. They think I'm naive. They have no idea. It wasn't just family. The betrayal radiated outwards, ensnaring those I once trusted most. Like Gia, my childhood best friend, a week before the trip. We sit across from each other in a trendy cafe, the aroma of coffee and pastries thick in the air. Sunlight streams through the large window. I'm so nervous, Gia, I confide, leaning forward, putting just the right amount of tremor in my voice. About the border crossing. What if something goes wrong? I watch her face closely. Her expression floods with practiced sympathy. Oh, Ling, don't worry. Your parents have everything planned, right? And May will be right there with you. It'll be smooth sailing, you'll see. Her hand covers mine reassuringly. Asterisk. But as she shifts in her seat, her phone screen lights up on the table beside her purse. A text preview flashes for a fraction of a second, but my eyes, sharpened by suspicion, catch it. It's from May. Did you tell her? Is she suspicious? Tell me what? Suspicious of what? My blood runs cold. Gia. Of course. In my previous life, after I disappeared at the border, Gia was the dutifully grieving friend. She offered my parents comfort, deflected questions from concerned relatives, helped spin the narrative that I'd simply run off, irresponsible Ling, always causing trouble. Now I see her role wasn't passive grief, it was active complicity. She continues her performance asking seemingly innocent questions. So, you have all your documents together? Are you carrying much cash? Are you definitely sticking with your family the whole time? Strategic information gathering, disguised as friendly concern. I play my part, feeding her the narrative I want her and by extension my family to believe. Vulnerable, slightly naive, trusting. Yes, everything's packed, I sigh. I just wish I wasn't so anxious. As I get up to leave, feigning a last-minute errand, I accidentally brush against her handbag, my fingers deftly slipping a tiny, almost invisible listening device into the side pocket. Later that evening, safe in my room, I listen to the recording of her immediate phone call to May. She doesn't suspect a thing, Gia reported smugly. Totally clueless. The plan should work perfectly. Fools. The clueless one wasn't me. And then there was Wen, my teenage crush. The boy whose rejection stung sharply in my first life and whose reappearance now felt far too convenient. At the airport check-in counter, chaos swirls around us. Luggage carts rumble, announcements echo overhead. And suddenly, there he is. Wen, looking impossibly handsome, flashing that same charming smile that used to make my heart flutter. Ling, May, what a coincidence, he exclaims, feigning surprise. Are you heading to the States too? My family greets him warmly. He was always a favorite of my parents. Polite, successful family background. Perfect on paper. He draws me aside slightly, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Big trip, huh? Got all your paperwork sorted? Sometimes the cues can be tricky. His questions are subtle, woven into casual conversation, but the focus is unmistakable. My documents, my exact plans. I remember in my past life when helpfully guiding me towards a separate, supposedly faster security line, just before the immigration checkpoint. Ah, favor. It separated me from my family at a critical moment, making their planned abandonment even easier. Now he tries the same tactic. Hey, Ling, that line looks shorter, he suggests, pointing. Why don't I help you with your carry-on? We can meet your family on the other side. He reaches for my bag. This time, I'm ready. I let him take the handle, then subtly shift my weight. As his fingers brush against the outer pocket, the one where I'd strategically placed a less important decoy document folder, I clamp my hand down firmly over his. Thanks, Win, but I've got it, I say, my voice sweet but firm. His eyes widen in shock. He wasn't expecting resistance. He tries to pull his hand away casually, but I hold it for a fraction of a second too long, meeting his gaze directly. He knows I caught him. The charming smile flickers, replaced by a flash of panic, before he schools his features back into nonchalance. Right, sure, just trying to help, he mutters, stepping back. Another pawn in their game, willingly or unwillingly caught in the act. He melts back into the crowd, leaving me with the certainty that his coincidental appearance was anything but. The rot, I discovered, went even deeper, right to the supposed experts hired to help us. Mr. Zhang, the highly recommended immigration consultant my parents insisted we use. Flashback, 3 months after my rebirth. I sit in Mr. Zhang's overly ornate office. Leather chairs, dark wood desk, certificates lining the wall. He exudes an air of expensive competence. He reviews the copies of my documents, my old passport, birth certificate, school records. Yes, he nods slowly. For a young person like yourself, traveling with family but seeking potential study opportunities, it's a gray area. Simpler is better. He then proceeds to give me deliberately misleading advice. Tells me not to bring my full academic transcripts, claiming they'll complicate things. Advises against declaring the modest savings I already had in my own name. Suggests I emphasize dependency on my parents. Every piece of advice runs counter to standard immigration best practices for someone in my situation. It's designed to raise red flags. Trust me, he says, smiling reassuringly. I've handled thousands of cases like yours. Keep it simple. Something felt wrong. After the meeting, a little digging. Easier now with the foresight of rebirth and access to better resources, revealed the truth. Mr. Zhang wasn't just any consultant. He was my father's second cousin. Suspicion confirmed, I set a trap. I scheduled a follow-up consultation, ostensibly to clarify a few points. This time, my phone was recording audio, nestled discreetly in my purse on the desk. I asked him to repeat his advice about the documents, citing specific regulations I'd researched. He became flustered, reiterated the bad advice, and explicitly told me not to include certain documents that were actually beneficial. After I left his office, I lingered in the building lobby, pretending to make a phone call. My listening device, planted during the second meeting, picked up his immediate call to my father. Don't worry, Zhang assured him. I told her exactly what we'd discussed. The girl's paperwork will be deliberately flawed. Minor inconsistencies, easily overlooked by us, but enough for them to flag. They'll hold her for secondary inspection, maybe detain her for a day or two. Plenty of time for you and May to pass through without issue. The recording was crystal clear. Another piece of irrefutable evidence added to my growing file against him and his fraudulent practice. A file I now carried, metaphorically and digitally, into this very detention room. But who pulled all the strings? Who benefited most? Who had the cold calculation to orchestrate it all, not once, but twice? My mother. It wasn't just about saving May in a panic. It was a calculated strategy conceived long before we ever reached the border. My mother, the quiet matriarch, the pillar of our family, saw the world in terms of investments and returns. May was her prized investment, beautiful, academically gifted, poised for success in the new country. I was secondary, expendable, the backup child. Her dreams for May were boundless. Prestigious university, successful career, advantageous marriage. My presence, slightly less academically inclined, perhaps a bit more rebellious in my first life, was a potential complication, a drain on resources better allocated to May. If one daughter had to be sacrificed for the other's guaranteed success, the choice for her was logical. Cold, but logical. This wasn't just a panicked reaction at the border, it was a contingency plan. How did I know? 3 months ago, searching for an old photo album in her study, a place I rarely entered, I stumbled upon a locked file box. Curiosity piqued, I managed to pick the simple lock. Inside, beneath layers of old financial records, was a thin folder labeled Contingencies L. My hands trembled as I opened it. It contained notes written in my mother's neat, precise handwriting. Scenarios, plans. If Ling became problematic during the immigration process, if resources became strained, if only one daughter could easily secure residency. The notes outlined strategies for distancing, for plausible deniability, for ensuring May's path remained clear, even if it meant leaving me behind. It detailed leveraging Mr. Zhang's position, using Jia's loyalty, even subtly influencing Wen. It was all there, a blueprint for my abandonment. The pain of that discovery was profound, deeper than the physical pain of dying alone on that cold floor. It wasn't just that they would abandon me, it was that, in my mother's meticulous planning, I was always meant to be potentially discardable. I was the calculated risk, the acceptable loss. Her perfect public image of the loving mother hid a terrifyingly pragmatic core. And I, her daughter, was simply a variable in her equation for May's success. That knowledge solidified my resolve. This wasn't just about correcting a past wrong. It was about exposing the mastermind and dismantling her carefully constructed world. Now, back in the detention room, the officer's question hangs in the air. Why would your own sister deny knowing you? My phone lies on the desk. I glance down at it, then meet the officer's gaze. With deliberate slowness, I unlock the screen and navigate to my audio files. I select the recording of Mr. Zhang's call to my father. Perhaps, I say calmly, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. This might offer some explanation. I press play. Asterisk Mr. Zhang's voice fills the small room, tinny but clear. The girl's paperwork is deliberately flawed. They'll hold her while the rest pass through. The officer listens intently, his expression hardening as Mr. Zhang's incriminating words fill the silence. He looks from my phone back to May, whose face is now ghost white. She looks like she might faint. He plays the short recording again, then switches it off. The air crackles with tension. He dismisses May curtly. Wait outside, do not leave the waiting area. She scurries out without a backward glance, refusing to meet my eyes. Some things, it seems, never change. The officer turns back to me, the suspicion is gone, replaced by a grim understanding. He reviews my documents again, this time with a different perspective, seeing the potential inconsistencies Mr. Zhang mentioned, but also seeing the correct documents I've now provided alongside them. He sees the deliberate setup. Despite this, he says eventually, his tone professional but hinting at something more, perhaps sympathy. Your sister's statement and the initial flags on your file mean I still have to hold you for further verification. Standard procedure when conflicting information arises. My heart gives a familiar, painful lurch. Even with the evidence, the system grinds on. Just like before. Through the glass partitions separating the interrogation rooms from the main processing area, I see them. My parents. They've been cleared. They're hovering anxiously near the exit, ushering May along, casting furtive glances back towards the detention area, towards me. But they don't approach. They don't ask questions. They just hurry May forward, eager to get away before the door closes on me. Again. The familiar cold dread washes over me, a phantom echo of the despair that consumed me in my previous life. Left behind, forgotten. But this time, there's a difference. As an officer prepares to lead me towards a secondary holding area, the main immigration officer, the one who heard the recording, catches my eye. There's a flicker of something there. Not pity, perhaps, but acknowledgement. A silent message that he knows this is wrong. It's a tiny crack in the wall of indifference I faced last time. I nod quietly, gathering my bag. I allow myself to be led away, projecting an aura of quiet acceptance, of defeat. Let them think they've won this round. Let them walk away freely into their new life, believing I'm trapped behind just like they planned. Their relief will make what comes next even sweeter. The holding area is small, cold, and smells faintly of disinfectant and stale coffee. A few uncomfortable plastic chairs line the walls. I choose one in the corner, sink into it, and let my shoulders slump. I allow my expression to be one of quiet resignation, maybe even a touch of despair. Two guards sit at a desk near the door, occasionally glancing my way. They speak to each other in low tones, assuming I don't understand their language. Big mistake. 3 years of intensive study means I catch every word. They discuss my case briefly, the conflicting statements, the unusual audio recording, the family that didn't wait. Their tone is mostly indifferent, just another complicated case in a long day. Hours pass. My family doesn't call, they don't return. No anxious inquiries, no attempts to clear up the misunderstanding. Just silence, exactly as before. Their abandonment is complete, just as they intended. Inside, a cold fury burns, but outwardly, I remain still, passive. I pull out a small notebook and pen from my bag, seemingly innocuous items. Under the guise of idle doodling, I meticulously document everything. The time I was brought here, the guards' names, gleaned from their conversation. Snippets of what they said, the lack of contact from my family. Timestamps, details, evidence. After what feels like an eternity, I'm permitted my one phone call. The guard watches, expecting me to call my parents, to plead for help. Instead, I dial a number they wouldn't recognize. A direct line I'd secured months ago through careful cultivation of contacts. Yes, hello? I keep my voice low, polite, slightly strained. My name is Ling Chen. I believe Consul Wu was expecting my call. There's been a slight complication at the border, as we anticipated might happen. I keep the conversation brief, professional. I provide my location within the facility. I thank them politely. When I hang up, I offer the guard a weak, grateful smile. Thank you for letting me call. My submissive attitude seems to work. Their vigilance lowers slightly. They see a scared young woman, resigned to bureaucratic limbo. They don't see the predator patiently waiting for the right moment to strike. A single tear traces a path down my cheek. Not despair. Controlled rage finding a calculated outlet. Less than an hour later, things change. A man in a crisp suit arrives, carrying a briefcase. He introduces himself to the guards as Consul Wu from the consulate of my home country. There's a sudden shift in the atmosphere. Bureaucratic indifference gives way to cautious deference. Consul Wu asks to speak with me privately. We're shown to a slightly larger, cleaner room. He's calm, professional. Exactly the ally I spent months cultivating after identifying him as someone known for his integrity. Miss Chen, he begins, you mentioned potential difficulties. Yes, I reply, my voice steady now. I open my bag and lay out the documents on the table between us. Not the flawed set Mr. Zhang advised, but the complete set. My actual untampered academic transcripts. Proof of my independent funds. Letters of support from credible contacts back home. Everything meticulously organized. Then I present the pièce de résistance, the full recording of the family dinner conversation. My father's voice clearly stating, if anything goes wrong, we focus on getting May through. My mother's cold agreement, we can always try again for Ling later. May's hesitant but ultimate compliance. Consul Wu listens, his expression unreadable at first, then tightening with disapproval. He cross-references the recording with the statement May gave the immigration officer earlier, which the officer had shared with him upon his arrival. The coached lies, the planned abandonment, it's all laid bare. This is highly irregular, he states, his voice tight with controlled anger. He makes a brief phone call, speaking in rapid official tones. Minutes later, the lead immigration officer enters the room. Consul Wu explains the situation, plays the damning recording again. The immigration officer's face is a mask of professionalism, but I see the shock in his eyes. He looks at my complete documentation, then back at me. He understands the depth of the setup now. He nods curtly to Consul Wu. There are apologies. Assurances that this will be rectified immediately. My passport is retrieved. A few keystrokes on a computer. A decisive stamp. The sound echoing like a gavel in the quiet room. Legal entry. Granted. Against all their plans, against all their expectations. As I gather my things, Consul Wu presses his business card into my hand. My direct line, he says quietly. There may be follow-up questions regarding your family's application based on this new information. Call me if you need anything else. Anything at all. I nod, tucking the card away safely. Before leaving the room, I add one polite request. Consul, officer, could I ask that my family not be informed of my release just yet? I'd like to surprise them. The officer allows a small, grim smile. Consider it done, Miss Chen. The hotel lobby is bustling with weary travelers and cheerful tourists. I spot them immediately, seated at a corner table in the hotel cafe, attempting to look relaxed. Father sips his coffee, Mother scans a brochure, May stares blankly out the window. They look like any other family starting their new life, except for the faint air of tension clinging to them. The tension of relief mixed with guilt. I smooth down my jacket, take a deep breath, and walk towards them. Heads turn as I approach. A few people glance curiously at the lone young woman purposefully crossing the lobby. Then, May sees me. Her fork clatters onto her plate. Her face goes utterly pale, then flushes crimson. Father looks up, following her gaze, and chokes on his coffee. Mother freezes, her hand hovering over the brochure, her eyes wide with disbelief. Ling, Father manages to stutter, half rising from his chair. How did you get here? I stop beside their table, offering a serene smile. Oh, there was just a small misunderstanding at the border, I say lightly, my voice carrying just enough for the nearby tables to overhear. Some confusion about the paperwork Mr. Zhang prepared. Luckily, I had backup copies of everything, and Consul Wu from the consulate was incredibly helpful in sorting it all out. I deliberately drop the consul's name. Mother flinches. Father sinks back into his chair, looking stunned. It took a few hours, but the officers were very thorough. I continue conversationally. They seemed quite interested in why my sister initially told them she didn't know me. Odd, wasn't it? I look directly at May, whose eyes are brimming with tears again. Ling, please, Mother cuts in, regaining some composure, plastering on a worried smile. We were so worried. We were just about to call the detention center again. A blatant lie. Were you? I ask sweetly. That's thoughtful. Well, now that we're all reunited, we should commemorate the moment. I gesture towards the ornate fountain in the center of the lobby. Let's take a family photo. The suggestion hangs in the air, thick with unspoken accusations. As I shepherd them awkwardly towards the fountain, forcing bright smiles from my phone camera, I lean in slightly and whisper, just loud enough for my parents to hear over the splashing water. The consulate official seemed particularly interested in the recording I played him. The one from dinner 2 weeks ago? He said he might need to follow up with you about your own applications. The color drains from Father's face. Mother's hand trembles as she grips May's arm. Panic flashes between them, stark and undisguised. The forced smiles in the photo I snap are grotesque masks of fear. Later that evening, there's a frantic knock on the door of the hotel room I insisted on getting for myself, separate from theirs. It's May. Her eyes are red-rimmed, her face puffy from crying. Ling, please, she bursts out the moment I open the door, stumbling into the room. You have to understand, I didn't want to lie. Mom and Dad, they made me. They said it was the only way that you'd be fine, that they'd sort it out later. Tears stream down her face as she launches into a desperate, rambling explanation, confirming every detail of the plan I already knew. I step back, letting her talk, and casually place my phone on the small desk, screen facing upwards, the red recording icon clearly visible in the corner. Her eyes flicker towards it, and her words falter for a moment, but the desperation overrides her caution. She needs to believe she can fix this, that she can talk her way back into my good graces. Her confession continues, now laced with self-pity and blame directed at our parents. Every word is captured. Soon after May leaves, defeated and uncertain, Mother arrives. No tears from her. Instead, she carries a beautifully wrapped gift box, expensive perfume, something she knows I like. She tries to embrace me, her voice softening into the gentle, caring tone she uses for public consumption. Ling, my darling girl, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. Your father and I were just confused, overwhelmed. We would never abandon you. I sidestep the embrace smoothly. Thank you for the gift, Mother, but I don't think perfume can fix this. Her eyes harden slightly. The velvet glove comes off. Don't be difficult, Ling. We're a family. What happens to one of us affects all of us. Think about May's future. Next comes father. He corners me near the elevators. No gifts, no fake warmth. Just thinly veiled threats disguised as paternal concern. Ling, you need to be careful. Making waves, involving officials. It can have unintended consequences. For everyone. You wouldn't want to jeopardize everything we've worked for, would you? It would be wise to let this go. Throughout the evening, I hear their frantic, hushed phone calls through the thin hotel walls. Calls to Mr. Zhang, trying to understand how things went so wrong. Calls that, I suspect, are going unanswered now that his own complicity is potentially exposed. As I prepare to retire to my own room, leaving them stewing in their shared panic, I pause at their door. They look up expectantly, desperately hoping for a sign of forgiveness, a return to the status quo. I meet their gazes one by one. My expression is calm, unreadable. I haven't decided what happens next, I state simply. Then I turn and walk away, leaving them alone with their fear and the mess they created. The first cracks in their carefully constructed world are showing. We find an apartment, a cramped 3-bedroom place in a neighborhood far from the prestigious university May is set to attend. The initial relief of being out of the hotel quickly sours into a new kind of tension. They are wary of me now, but old habits die hard. The belief that they can control the narrative, control me, is deeply ingrained. The second wave of betrayal begins subtly. 2 weeks after moving in, I return from a job-hunting excursion to find my document folder, the one containing my passport, visa, original birth certificate, and academic records, lying on the kitchen counter near a spilled glass of water. Several key pages are warped and stained, the ink slightly smeared. "Oh, Ling, I'm so sorry," Mother exclaims, dabbing at the mess with a cloth, her face a mask of concern. I was cleaning and I knocked the glass over. How clumsy of me. An accident that conveniently damages the very proof of my identity and qualifications. A few days later, I overhear Father on the phone with the university admissions office, inquiring about May's registration. Then, lowering his voice, he adds, "Regarding my other daughter, Ling, yes, there have been some complications with her paperwork since arrival. Significant delays. It seems unlikely she'll be able to enroll this semester, perhaps not even this year." He hangs up, unaware I heard every word from the next room. My application, submitted independently, is being subtly sabotaged. Then comes the scholarship. One I applied for directly, using the pristine documents Consul Wu helped me secure. I receive an email rejection. Confused, I follow up. The committee informs me they received conflicting information, transcripts showing much lower grades, submitted under my name. Submitted by whom? The submission trace leads back to an IP address associated with my family's immigration consultant, Mr. Zhang. Another favor for my parents. My job search stalls. An interview I had lined up for a promising position at a local library is abruptly canceled. The email is vague. Position filled internally. Later, eavesdropping again. A necessary skill I've honed. I hear Father boasting quietly to Mother. I just made one call to my contact on the library board. Explained Ling wasn't quite settled yet. They understood. The final straw, the landlord knocks on the door. "Miss Chen?" he asks, looking at me. "There seems to be some issue with the initial lease application. We need separate verification of your status and income, independent of your parents. Urgently. This after we've already been living here for weeks." Later, I find an email draft on Mother's tablet, accidentally left open. An email to the landlord subtly questioning my legal status and ability to contribute to rent, suggesting he seek independent verification for his own protection. They convene a family meeting that evening. Father looks grave, Mother concerned, May avoids my eyes. They present it all as a string of unfortunate coincidences. The damaged documents, the university delay, the scholarship denial, the canceled interview, the landlord's demands. "It seems luck just isn't on your side right now, Ling," Father says, shaking his head sadly. "But don't worry, we'll take care of you." I look at each of them, my expression carefully neutral, perhaps even a little weary. "Okay," I say quietly. "Thank you." Inside, the cold fire burns hotter. My phone, resting on my lap beneath the table, records their faux sympathy, their carefully constructed lies. They think they're pushing me back into dependency, back into the shadows. They have no idea they're just tightening the noose around their own necks. If they want me dependent and broken, then that's what I'll appear to be. My strategy shifts. The direct confrontations are paused. It's time for infiltration. I become the picture of the dutiful, slightly disheartened daughter. I ramp up my helpfulness around the cramped apartment. I clean obsessively, scrubbing floors, organizing cupboards, ensuring everything is spotless. This gives me unrestricted access to every corner of our shared living space, every drawer, every closet. I start cooking elaborate meals, traditional dishes that father loves, desserts mother favors. While they eat, discussing May's exciting university orientation or their own networking efforts in hushed tones they think I can't hear, I serve them with quiet deference, head slightly bowed. I help May navigate her university portals, proofread her essays, offer advice on course selection. Thanks, Ling, she says, relief washing over her face. I was so stressed about this. She starts to relax around me, the guilt momentarily forgotten, replaced by the convenience of my help. My parents watch these interactions with approving nods. See, Ling is settling down. She understands her place. When they generously help me find a menial part-time job washing dishes at a local restaurant, arranged, no doubt, to keep me busy, tired, and out of their way, I accept with weary gratitude. Thank you, Father. It's something. I play the part, coming home exhausted, smelling of grease and bleach. Their vigilance lowers. Their relief is palpable. They start leaving documents out, having sensitive conversations more openly, believing I'm too defeated or too busy to notice or care. They think they've successfully managed the Ling problem. Meanwhile, late at night, when the apartment is silent, I sit at my small desk, the glow of my laptop screen illuminating my face. Every overheard conversation snippet, every suspicious email glimpsed, every accidental sabotage is meticulously documented, cross-referenced, and uploaded to a heavily encrypted cloud drive. Bank statements I find while cleaning, snippets of phone calls recorded by devices strategically placed during my cleaning sprees, copies of documents they think are safely hidden. The database of their deceit grows daily, a silent testament to their ongoing betrayal, patiently waiting for deployment. My passivity is a weapon, and they are completely oblivious. While playing the part of the subdued daughter at home, I operate with calculated precision outside. My first stop is the university admissions office. Not father's contact, but the head of the department, secured through an introduction from Consul Wu's office. I present my actual academic records, the official sealed transcript sent directly from my previous institutions before Rebirth, which I had arranged to be held securely. I explain the situation calmly, factually, mentioning the suspected interference without overt accusation, letting the documents speak for themselves. The discrepancy with the falsified records Mr. Jung submitted is glaring. An internal review is immediately launched. Next, the scholarship committee. I provide them with the same authentic records and a brief, formal letter outlining the possibility of fraudulent information having been submitted on my behalf previously. I include a subtle reference to the ongoing consulate interest in my family's case. They agree to reopen my application file for urgent review. Then, the landlord. I arrange a private meeting. I don't show him the email draft I found on Mother's tablet. Instead, I play him a short, clear audio recording captured by a device I'd left near the phone of Father calling him, offering a small cash bonus if he could find a reason to demand separate verification from me, potentially pushing me off the lease. The landlord's face pales. He stammers apologies, assures me my tenancy is secure, and promises to deal with my father directly regarding the attempted bribe. Finally, the job situation. The menial dishwashing job serves its purpose as a cover. My real efforts are focused elsewhere. Through Consul Wu's network, I connect with a nonprofit immigrant advocacy center. They are impressed by my story, the carefully edited version I provide, my language skills, and my drive. They offer me a position, not washing dishes, but as a case assistant, helping others navigate the complex immigration system. The irony is delicious. My start date is confirmed. I carefully begin building a paper trail employment contract, independent bank account, communication logs, establishing myself as entirely separate from my family unit in the eyes of the authorities. Unseen by my family, the wheels are turning. The system they tried to manipulate against me is now slowly, surely, being turned against them. Every quiet meeting, every document submitted tightens the net. The immigration authorities, initially alerted by Consul Wu, have maintained a background interest. My documented independence and the evidence of my family's interference only fuels their scrutiny. The repercussions begin to ripple outwards, striking closer to home. My parents returned to the apartment one evening to find a certified letter slipped under the door. Official letterhead. It's a notice from the immigration authorities informing them that their residency application is under review due to newly surfaced information requiring further investigation. Routine language, but the implication is chillingly clear. Panic flares in Mother's eyes. Father crumples the letter in his fist, his face grim. May attends her university orientation, excited and nervous. As she browses the welcome packets and student lists, she sees a familiar name under the scholarship recipient's announcement, Ling Chen, full academic scholarship. She finds me later, near the department office, holding my own orientation schedule. The look on her face is a mixture of shock, confusion, and dawning horror. Ling, how? I just smile. The landlord situation escalates. My parents receive a formal notice that due to irregularities in the initial application process and subsequent findings, the lease agreement is being restructured. My name, backed by my verified employment and independent status, is now listed as the primary leaseholder. They are effectively subletting from me in their own home. The power dynamic shifts palpably. Whispers start circulating among the small community of expatriates and family friends they've begun cultivating. Rumors about trouble at the border, about consulate involvement, about favoritism towards May. People start asking cautious questions. My parents' carefully constructed image of a smooth, successful transition begins to crack. Mr. Zhang calls, his voice tight with panic. Your father told me about the investigation notice. They contacted me too, asking about past cases, about my consultation practices, my license. Ling, what did you tell them? His desperation is satisfying. The final blow for now comes for May. Her new university boyfriend, a well-connected young man my parents thoroughly approved of, abruptly breaks things off. Apparently, rumors of the border incident and May's complicity reached his family. They didn't want the association. May comes home devastated, tears streaming down her face, finally understanding that the consequences of her actions extend beyond our family unit. Just as the tension in the apartment reaches a fever pitch, there's a knock on the door. Not the landlord, not a friend. It's the immigration officer. The same one from the border crossing, the one who heard the first recording. He smiles politely, holding up his badge. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, Ling, May, I'm here to conduct a routine follow-up interview regarding your residency applications. May I come in? The routine interview is anything but. The officer's questions are polite but pointed, circling back to the inconsistencies in their original statements. The events at the border, my independent status, Mr. Zhang's involvement. My parents stammer, contradict each other. May sits silently, twisting her hands in her lap. I answer calmly, factually, my previous statements perfectly aligning with the evidence I know the officer already possesses thanks to Consul Wu. After the officer leaves, the dam breaks. Father, stripped of his bluster and authority, sinks to his knees in the middle of the small living room. Ling, please, he begs, his voice hoarse. You have to help us. Tell them it was a misunderstanding. Your mother, she was just trying to protect May. We can fix this. Tell me what to do. Mother dissolves into hysterics, pacing the room, accusations flying. This is your fault, she shrieks, pointing a trembling finger at me. You and your vindictiveness. You're destroying this family after everything we've done for you. Her perfect mask shatters, revealing the raw panic beneath. May finally breaks her silence. Tears stream down her face as she confesses everything, the plan, the lies, her fear, her guilt. She pleads for forgiveness, not just from me, but from the universe, it seems. I was wrong, Ling. I was so wrong. I'm sorry. Please, make it stop. Through it all, I remain calm. I go to the kitchen and methodically prepare tea, the familiar ritual grounding me amidst their chaos. I bring the cups back into the living room as they continue to unravel around me. They start making offers. Money. We'll give you anything, Ling. Just name your price. Property they barely have equity in. Promises of unwavering support for my future. anything I want, anything to make the investigation stop, to regain control. I let them exhaust themselves. Then I place my teacup carefully on the table. I look at their desperate faces, ravaged by fear and guilt. I ask one simple question, my voice quiet but clear. Why should I help you now? The question hangs in the air, unanswered. They stare at me, finally understanding the depth of my detachment, the futility of their pleas. I stand up. From my pocket, I retrieve a crisp, new business card. Not Consul Wu's this time. This one bears the name and logo of a top immigration law firm. My law firm. I place it deliberately on the table in front of my father. Perhaps, I suggest coolly, you should seek professional legal advice. Then, I turn and walk towards the door of my room, leaving them alone in the wreckage of their own making. 6 months pass. A tense, brittle quiet settles over the apartment. The immigration investigation grinds slowly onward, a constant shadow hanging over my parents and May. They walk on eggshells around me, mixing desperate attempts at kindness with simmering resentment. But their capacity for betrayal, I learn, is far from exhausted. Their tactics merely shift. They begin a subtle campaign among the extended family back home and the few connections they've made here. Whispers start circulating. Ling is unstable, they say. Vindictive. Holding a grudge over a simple misunderstanding at the border. The stress has gotten to her, poor thing. She's twisting things, trying to hurt the family that only wants to help her. The culmination of this campaign is the arrival of my paternal grandmother, flown in from our hometown. Nai, stern, traditional, the undisputed matriarch whose opinion carries immense weight. My parents brought her here, I realize, as their final weapon to reason with me, to guilt me into submission using the card of filial piety. They arrange a large family gathering at the apartment, inviting distant relatives and new acquaintances. It's an ambush disguised as a reconciliation dinner. After the meal, my father clears his throat. My mother looks suitably sorrowful. They begin their performance, publicly recounting a heavily edited version of events, painting me as the ungrateful, troubled daughter, tearing the family apart over a minor incident blown out of proportion. They speak of forgiveness, of family unity, of my difficult behavior. Then, the ultimatum, delivered by father with Nai sitting beside him, her face impassive. Ling, this has gone on long enough. For the sake of this family, for Nai's peace of mind, you must drop this vendetta. Stop cooperating with the immigration inquiry. Tell them it was all a mistake. If you continue to harm this family, we will have no choice but to consider you no longer a part of it. We will be forced to disown you. As if to emphasize the point, Mother brings out an old family photo album. She flips through the pages, showing pictures from my childhood. But something is wrong. In several key photos, birthdays, holidays, my image has been clumsily cut out or obscured. A symbolic erasure. They all look at me, expecting tears, capitulation. Nai's gaze is steady, unreadable. I remain silent, my fingers tracing the smooth, cool surface of the small jade pendant I always wear around my neck. A gift from Nai years ago. A gift she gave me in both lives. The pressure in the room is immense. All eyes are on me. My parents look expectant, confident their emotional blackmail, backed by Nai's presence and the public shaming, will finally break me. I let the silence stretch. Then, I look down at my hands, twisting them in my lap. A single tear escapes, tracing a path down my cheek. Then another. My shoulders begin to shake. I raise my head, my eyes filled with manufactured tears, looking directly at Nai, then at my parents. I'm sorry, I whisper, my voice choked with fake emotion. You're right, I've been selfish. I was hurt and I lashed out. I didn't mean to cause so much trouble. Please, forgive me. I bow my head, appearing utterly broken, defeated. A collective sigh of relief fills the room. Mother rushes forward to embrace me, tears of joy in her eyes. Father claps his hand on my shoulder, murmuring words of reconciliation. May looks relieved, if still wary. The gathered relatives murmur approvingly. Nai remains silent, her expression unchanging. In the following days, I play the part of the penitent daughter. I agree to move back into the main family fold, symbolically giving up my independence. I attend a carefully staged reconciliation dinner, helping Mother in the kitchen, my head bowed in apparent submission. I listen meekly as Father outlines the steps I need to take to retract my statements to the immigration authorities. My parents relax completely. The problem is solved. Ling has been brought back into line. May even makes tentative attempts at sisterly bonding, offering me cast-off clothes, sharing snippets about her university life. I return her attempts cautiously, playing the role of the slightly damaged but ultimately compliant younger sister. Family friends call to congratulate my parents on their wisdom and patience in handling their difficult daughter. Everything seems to be returning to their desired normal. Through it all, I continue to wear the jade pendant. It rests against my skin, a constant, cool reminder. Even when I shower, it stays on. It's more than just jewelry. It's a connection, a promise, a secret they cannot even begin to comprehend. My performance is flawless, my submission absolute. They believe they have won. They are wrong. A few days after the public reconciliation, Nainai asks me to join her for a walk in the small community garden behind the apartment building, away from the prying ears of my parents. We walk in silence for a while, Nainai observing the struggling rose bushes. Then, she stops and turns to me. Her eyes, usually sharp and critical, now filled with a deep, ancient knowing. They think they're clever, she says, her voice low but firm. They were always fools, your father and his wife. My breath catches. That jade pendant, she continues, her gaze fixed on the small green stone at my throat. I gave it to you when you were a child, just as I gave it to you before. My heart pounds against my ribs. Before? You do not remember everything clearly yet, Nainai states, not unkindly. But you came to me, child, in those last days. Before the border. You spoke of betrayal, of being left behind. Your spirit was wounded, even then. Her words pierced through the fog of my past life's ending. I had confided in her, vaguely, sensing something was wrong, though I didn't know the full extent of the plan. Our family, Nainai says, her voice dropping to a whisper, though no one is near, carries a current Ling, an ancient one. The women of our line, sometimes when wronged, when cut down by profound injustice, especially betrayal by kin, we return. We are given a chance to restore the balance. Rebirth wasn't random, it was a legacy. She tells me her own story then, a story from decades ago, a different betrayal, a different injustice. Her own return, her own quiet, meticulous path to reclaiming her life and ensuring those who wronged her faced consequences. The jade pendant wasn't just an heirloom, it was a conduit, a focus, passed down through generations of women like us. Women who remembered, women who returned. Your mother planned this, Nainai confirms, her voice laced with contempt. She convinced your father. They thought my mind was fading, that I wouldn't see, but I saw, both times. And then, the final piece. Your great-grandfather distrusted your father's greed, even as a boy. He established trusts, holdings, wealth your parents know nothing about. Managed by intermediaries loyal to our true line, he stipulated it passed directly to the next woman in our line who proved worthy, who understood the legacy. After your first death and now, seeing your strength in this second chance, it is yours, Ling. Legally, irrevocably yours. Hidden from them, waiting for you. My head spins. Rebirth. A secret lineage of women. Hidden wealth. Nainai knew. She knew. My quiet, traditional grandmother was a returned soul herself, a silent guardian of a power I never imagined. The ultimate countermove wasn't just mine to make. It was my birthright. The lawyer arrives during dinner a week later, impeccably dressed, carrying a heavy briefcase. My parents exchange confused glances. May looks nervous. Nainai sips her tea calmly. I continue eating my rice. Mr. and Mrs. Chen, the lawyer begins formally, I represent the interests of the estate managed by your late grandfather, pursuant to certain conditions recently met. He lays out the documents, crisp, official papers detailing trust funds, offshore accounts, and controlling shares in several businesses, including a significant, previously unknown majority stake in the overseas trading company that forms the backbone of my father's current business. All legally, indisputably transferred to my name, Ling Chen, effective immediately, triggered by Nainai's activation of long-dormant clauses. My father stares, speechless, his face turning a mottled red. But the lawyer isn't finished. He produces property deeds. The deed to the ancestral family home back in our province, a place my mother always spoke of with proprietary pride. Now legally mine. The deed to a small apartment building in a neighboring city, generating rental income they never knew about, also mine. Then immigration documents. Official forms, submitted months ago by Nainai, naming me Ling Chen, with my now verified independent status and substantial financial means, as her sole sponsor for her extended visitor visa and potential future residency application. Not my parents. Their connection to her, legally, is now secondary to mine. Finally, a bank statement. A university trust fund, established by my great-grandfather, sufficient to cover multiple degrees, with instructions. The first disbursement has already been made, directly to May's University, covering her entire upcoming tuition fees, paid in full, from an account my parents cannot access or control, an account managed by me. Silence descends on the room, thick and suffocating. My father looks like he might have a stroke. My mother stares blankly at the papers, her mind struggling to comprehend the scale of the reversal. May looks utterly bewildered, torn between relief about her tuition and horror at the power shift unfolding before her. They look at me. Not the broken, compliant daughter, but the silent architect of their downfall, backed by a power they never knew existed. I take a calm sip of my tea. Their world, built on deceit and my supposed disposability, is collapsing around them in real time. The final blows land swiftly. The immigration officer returns not for an interview, but with official findings. The investigation, bolstered by Nainai's testimony, the lawyer's documentation of financial control shifts, and my meticulously compiled evidence, including the recordings and Mr. Zhang's panicked confession, has concluded. The findings, clear evidence of conspiracy to commit immigration fraud, deliberate misrepresentation of facts, and attempts to obstruct the investigation. My parents' residency applications are formally denied. Deportation proceedings are initiated. Their desperate attempts to blame me, to paint me as the manipulative one, backfire spectacularly. The evidence is too overwhelming, my position too secure. May, facing expulsion from university due to her family's fraudulent application basis, despite her tuition being paid, gives a tearful public statement to the Student Conduct Board confessing her role and expressing deep remorse. It saves her place, barely, but her reputation is shattered. A local newspaper, tipped off by the Immigrant Advocacy Center where I work, runs a feature story. Not about my family's downfall, but about my story. The resourceful young immigrant who overcame familial abandonment and now advocates for others facing similar situations. It highlights the work of the center, subtly positioning me as a survivor and champion, and the final, crushing piece of evidence presented during the immigration hearing. My mother's diary. The one I found months ago, detailing her cold calculations, her contingency plans for abandoning me. Submitted anonymously, by Nainai, I suspect. Its authenticity verified, her own words damning her beyond any doubt. In the sterile hearing room, after the evidence is presented and the judgment read, the presiding official turns to me, not as a defendant, but as the acknowledged victim and a key witness. "Miss Chen," he asks, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet room. "Given the findings and the pending deportation order for your parents, the court considers the victim's perspective on related family matters. What outcome are you seeking?" All eyes turn to me, my parents, pale and broken. May, head bowed. Nainai, watching silently. What do I want? Retribution? Reconciliation? Justice? The question hangs in the air, but the answer is already unfolding. The legal system will deliver its verdict regarding immigration status. What I seek is something else, something internal. The weeks following the hearing are a blur of packing boxes and strained silences in the apartment. My parents, stripped of their financial control and facing imminent deportation, are shadows of their former selves. There are no more pleas, no more accusations, just a heavy, resigned despair. Nai watches the proceedings with quiet satisfaction, not gloating, but a sense of cosmic balance being restored. She begins to share more with me, stories of other women in our family line, across centuries. Aunt Maylin, who returned after being cheated out of her inheritance by a brother. Cousin Shu Fen, reborn after a jealous husband's betrayal. A network hidden in plain sight of women who refused to stay silent victims. Women who got a second chance to seek justice. They found each other, these reborn women, drawn together by shared experience and the subtle resonance of their jade pendants. Nai introduces me carefully to others in this city and through secure channels to women across the globe. It's an ancient society dedicated not to vengeance, but to restoring balance, protecting the vulnerable within their lineage, and ensuring that profound betrayals do not stand uncorrected. My role, as the newest confirmed member, is slowly taking shape. One evening, as I stand by the window watching the city lights, Nai joins me. She gestures towards the jade pendant at my neck. In the dim light, it seems to emit a soft, almost imperceptible glow. It recognizes you, she whispers. The lineage accepts you. The power your ancestors wielded, the resilience they cultivated. It flows through you now, Ling. You are not alone. The power I never knew existed, the strength born from injustice and second chances, settles within me. Not a weapon for petty revenge, but a tool for building a different kind of future. My parents' departure is not an ending, but a clearing of the path. We aren't in the immigration hearing room this time, but a smaller private mediation chamber. Not for legal sentencing, the deportation order is already in effect, but for finalizing familial arrangements. Division of minor assets they still possess, guardianship considerations for May, though she's legally an adult, her dependency is a factor, and officially addressing the disownment threat they made months ago. The judge from the family court presides, aiming for resolution, not punishment. My parents' lawyer, a harried public defender assigned after their funds ran out, argues weakly for leniency, citing cultural pressures and misguided parental concern. He tries to paint the picture of a family tragedy, not a calculated betrayal. But the evidence, already established in the immigration case, hangs heavy in the air. The recordings, the diary, Nai's testimony, Mr. Zhang's plea bargain detailing their instructions. May is called to speak. Her voice is low but clear. She doesn't make excuses. She recounts the events factually, acknowledging her fear, her weakness, and her complicity. She apologizes directly to me without theatrics this time. It's the first flicker of genuine remorse I've seen from her. My father, when questioned, attempts to maintain a shred of dignity, speaking of his responsibilities. But his facade cracks under the mediator's calm, persistent questioning about the financial manipulations and the plan to abandon me. My mother simply weeps silently, a broken woman stripped of her schemes and her status. Her tears, which once might have evoked pity, leave me cold. Finally, the mediator turns to me. Miss Chen, your family initiated proceedings to potentially disown you. Given the complete reversal of circumstances and acknowledging the harm done to you, the court needs your statement on how you wish to proceed regarding formal family ties and any potential reconciliation. He's essentially asking if I want to kick them when they're down or offer an olive branch. It's my turn to deliver the final verdict on our relationship. Even before this final meeting, the ripples of their actions continue to spread. My father's business associates, learning of the immigration fraud and the transfer of controlling shares to me, managed now by a professional board Nai helped appoint, quietly withdraw their partnerships. His professional life is over. My mother, once active in community circles, finds herself isolated. Friends offer polite, distant condolences, but make excuses to avoid contact. Her social standing, built on illusion, has evaporated. May's university allows her to continue her studies, largely due to her public confession and my silent non-opposition, and the fact her tuition is securely paid from the trust. But she faces ostracization from classmates. She keeps her head down, focuses on her work, a solitary figure on campus. The few family friends who attended the disastrous reconciliation dinner are forced to choose sides. Most offer awkward, non-committal support, clearly distancing themselves from the toxic fallout. Mr. Zhang, having cooperated in exchange for a lighter sentence, loses his license permanently and faces hefty fines and probation. His career in immigration consulting is finished. My phone rings occasionally. Gia, my former best friend, crying, begging for a chance to explain how my mother manipulated her. I listen silently, then hang up. Wen, my former crush, reappears, suddenly finding me fascinating now that I hold financial power and a compelling backstory. He suggests coffee. I decline. Their opportunism is predictable and pathetic. The consequences are playing out naturally, inevitably. Their world has shrunk, their reputations are ruined, their future uncertain. My intervention is no longer required for their punishment. Life and their own actions are delivering it quite effectively. In the days leading up to the final family mediation, the apologies intensify, becoming a desperate barrage. A formal letter arrives from my father, handwritten, pages long. It details his regrets, admits his failures, acknowledges the injustice. It reads like a confession drafted by his lawyer. My mother resorts to different tactics. Daily text messages filled with remorseful emojis, small, inexpensive gift boxes left outside my door, fruits, pastries, things she thinks might soften me. Attempts at invoking nostalgia, reminding me of happier childhood moments. May gives me a small, worn notebook. It's her journal from the past few months. Page after page details her guilt, her shame, her slow understanding of the depth of their collective betrayal, and her struggle to forgive herself. It feels raw, honest, more genuine than anything else. Gia posts a vague, tearful apology on social media about making mistakes and hurting people, clearly directed at me without naming names, likely hoping for public sympathy. Mr. Zhang sends an email through his lawyer offering to do pro bono work for my advocacy center, hoping to curry favor or perhaps mitigate his sentence further. Wen tries again, sending flowers to the advocacy center with a note praising my strength and resilience, expressing his admiration. Even a few community elders, prompted by distant relatives, reach out, suggesting I find it in my heart to show mercy, to remember the importance of family, however flawed. The apologies rain down, a torrent of regret, self-preservation, and desperation. They want absolution. They want me to make it easier for them, to alleviate their guilt, to perhaps even use my newfound influence to somehow lessen their consequences. They want the victim to soothe the perpetrators. The mediation chamber is stark. A polished table, uncomfortable chairs, harsh fluorescent lighting. Just us. My parents, looking hollowed out, aged beyond their years. May, pale and quiet, clutching her worn journal. Nainai, a silent pillar of strength in her corner chair. Me, the mediator at the head of the table. There's an air of finality. My parents have prepared statements. Father reads his first, his voice monotone, reciting apologies, regrets, taking responsibility. It sounds rehearsed, devoid of genuine feeling, likely drafted by his lawyer. Mother speaks next, her voice trembling. She talks about her fears, her misguided ambitions for May, her blindness. It sounds more emotional, but still laced with self-pity. She keeps glancing at me, searching for a reaction. I offer none. May simply pushes the journal across the table towards me. I wrote this, she whispers. It's all I have. They finish speaking. They look at me expectantly. They've laid their apologies at my feet. They've confessed, begged, explained. Now they wait for my response, for my judgment, for the absolution only I can grant. The silence stretches, broken only by the hum of the ventilation system. Nainai watches me, her expression calm, trusting my decision. The mediator waits patiently. My parents hold their breath. I look at each of them. My father, broken, but perhaps not truly changed. My mother, consumed by the loss of control. My sister, May, showing glimmers of genuine remorse, beginning her own painful journey. I think of the cold floor of the detention center, the casual cruelty of their planned abandonment, the years of meticulous preparation fueled by that betrayal, the weight of carrying that injustice twice. I take a breath. No, I say, just one word. Quiet, calm, final. And not, I don't forgive you. Not, I hate you. Not a list of their sins, just no. No to reconciliation on their terms. No to absolving them of their guilt. No to pretending the chasm between us can be easily bridged. No to playing the role they need me to play in their redemption narrative. Shock ripples across their faces. Father flinches as if struck. Mother lets out a choked gasp, pressing a hand to her mouth. May closes her eyes, tears finally escaping. They expected anger, tears, conditions, negotiations. They didn't expect the quiet finality of a simple refusal. I stand up slowly, gathering my bag. My movement breaks the spell. Ling, wait! Father cries out, his voice cracking with desperation. What can we do? Tell us what to do. Mother collapses forward, sobbing onto the table. I pause at the threshold of the room. I look back not with anger, but with a profound sense of detachment. They still don't understand. It's not about doing anything anymore. Live with what you've done, I say, my voice barely above a whisper, yet cutting through the heavy silence. As I had to. I turn and walk out of the room, leaving them behind with the consequences of their choices. As I step out into the corridor, the jade pendant beneath my blouse feels warm against my skin, pulsing with a faint, almost imperceptible glow, visible only to those who know what to look for. My new life awaits, 1 year later. I stand on the balcony of my apartment, a different apartment this time. Smaller, simpler, but mine. Below me, the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean stretches towards the horizon, painted gold and pink by the rising sun. The air smells clean, salty, peaceful. Beside me, on a small table, sits a stack of case files from the Immigrant Advocacy Center. I now help manage stories of struggle, hope, and resilience that echo parts of my own. My work is demanding, often heartbreaking, but deeply fulfilling. Helping others navigate the system that almost crushed me feels like closing a circle. Nainai sits nearby in a comfortable chair, sipping jasmine tea and recounting tales of our ancestors, weaving together the threads of our unique family history. Her presence is a quiet anchor, a source of strength and wisdom. A small pile of letters sits unopened on an indoor table. They arrive faithfully every month, bearing postmarks from my parents' new, far less comfortable life back in our home province. Sometimes May adds a separate note. I haven't opened any of them. Perhaps one day I will, but not yet. The jade pendant rests cool and familiar against my skin. Its power isn't a weapon anymore, but a quiet reminder of resilience, of the possibility of second chances, of the importance of balance. The burning need for revenge has faded, replaced by a calm certainty. Justice has been served, not through active vengeance, but through the natural consequences of their actions and my refusal to shield them. Peace, I've learned, doesn't always require forgiveness. Sometimes it requires boundaries. My chosen family gathers in my small living room later that week. Not related by blood, but by shared experience, by the strange miracle of return. There's Mrs. Liu, reborn after her sons cheated her and left her destitute. There's Anya, who returned after a business partner's fatal betrayal. We are part of the network Nainai introduced me to, a quiet sisterhood spanning generations and continents. We share stories, offer support, pool resources. We understand each other in ways no one else can. There's strength in this shared experience, a validation that heals the deepest wounds. Nainai, the eldest among us in this cycle, guides our discussions, sharing the traditions and responsibilities that come with our legacy. I find myself mentoring a young woman named Yara, a recent immigrant whose family, under financial strain, is pressuring her to abandon her studies for an arranged marriage. Her situation resonates deeply. I offer her guidance, resources from the center, and the quiet support of someone who understands the weight of familial expectation and betrayal. Helping her feels like tending to a younger version of myself. These bonds, forged in shared trauma and mutual support, feel more real, more sustaining than the fractured ties of my biological family. We maintain the ancient traditions Nainai teaches us, honoring the resilience of the women who came before, but we are also creating new ones. Rituals of remembrance, celebrations of survival, networks of support for those who might follow. One cool evening, there's an unexpected knock on my door. My heart gives a slight jolt, a residual echo of past anxieties. But when I open it, it's just May, alone. She looks different. Thinner, perhaps. Her fashionable clothes replaced by simpler attire. The defiance and panic are gone from her eyes, replaced by a quiet weariness, but also a tentative resolve. She looks older, changed. Around her neck hangs a small jade pendant, much simpler than mine or Nainai's, but unmistakably part of the lineage. Nainai, seeing May's sustained remorse and her dedicated volunteer work at another immigrant support center across town over the past year, had decided to give her a chance, a connection to the family legacy she had betrayed, a path towards her own kind of restoration. "Can I come in?" she asks quietly. I hesitate for only a moment, then nod, stepping aside. We sit on the balcony, the ocean sighing below us. We drink tea in near silence for a long time. Eventually, she speaks, not of apologies or the past, but of her present. Her volunteer work, the people she's helping, the difficulties she faces, the small victories she achieves. She speaks of trying to make amends, not through words, but through actions. The conversation is careful, tentative. There's an ocean of unspoken history between us, but also the shared blood, the shared legacy, however complicated. We are not friends. The trust, once shattered, cannot be fully restored, but perhaps slowly, carefully, we can become something else. Sisters redefined, connected by more than just the past. The possibility hangs in the salty air, fragile but present. I walk along the beach as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows on the sand. The waves lap gently at my feet, washing away the footprints behind me. The consuming fire of revenge, the meticulous planning, the constant vigilance, it all feels distant now. The weight I carried for so long, the weight of injustice from 2 lifetimes, has finally lifted. It wasn't lifted by forgiveness, but by reclaiming my own narrative, by ensuring accountability, and by choosing my own path forward. The advocacy center I helped establish, funded in part by the carefully managed inheritance Nainai unlocked, is thriving. We've helped dozens of families, secured visas, fought deportations, offered sanctuary. We've achieved tangible justice for others, and in doing so, I've found a measure of it for myself. Nainai's words often echo in my mind. Rebirth isn't about revenge, Ling. It's about restoration. Restoring balance, restoring yourself. The jade pendant feels cool against my skin. Its faint glow subsided. Its primary work done. It's a part of me, a connection to my ancestors and my new family, but it no longer dictates my actions. Back in my apartment, I open a new journal. Not one filled with plans for retribution, but one for sketching out futures. For the center, for Yara, for myself. The old journal, the one detailing my return and revenge, is closed, stored away. That chapter is finished. The horizon stretches before me, vast and filled with the quiet promise of the coming night. For the first time in 2 lives, it feels truly open, filled with possibilities instead of pain. I am Ling Chen. I was forgotten. I returned. And now, finally, I am free.